So instead of the dumpling, we're going to take a look at their cousin this time around with wontons. Slightly different concept, but we're doing some pork cabbage wontons today from a Cantonese perspective. But wontons are not just limited to China, guys. That's the cool part about this. So for the recipe, head on over to kcknh.com, find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. The wonton is the most requested item at most Chinese takeaways, guys. Everyone loves wontons, whether they're fried, they're in a soup, and every region of China has a different way of making them. And the most beautiful part about this, if you go outside of China, there are also other countries as well who have their own version. So I've got a beautiful profile of the dishes just from China, and then we're going to feature a few here in this slideshow from Singapore, an Indonesian Chinese version. Guys, these are the most incredible experiences you can have. And yes, even in Russia, they have their own dumplings. So, right off the bat, we are working with the common ingredient of ground pork. Dumplings do need to have moisture, and we definitely want to consider the freshest available as possible. Now, for this version, we are doing a Cantonese style. I'm doing pork and cabbage. Very similar to the dumpling mixes I've made previously, but this has a few different ingredients, different amounts. So definitely pay attention to the recipe. Now, one of the things you'll see right away is you get some choices to make when it comes to the type of soup you want. I personally did a Thai version. We did a Cantonese version for my husband. And we're using ingredients you can find at the local Asian markets, or you can even order them online as well. Now for the filling, this is the best part about doing wontons and dumplings. It's a one mix. Get everything in the bowl. And with this mix, we're actually going to set this aside because we do have to add some cabbage to this. And always keep in mind when you buy in your produce, you still have to inspect it. So for example, with this Napa cabbage, I automatically know the outer leaves have got to go. They're no good to me. But I still have to inspect the inside for any bugs, dirt, even little rocky pebbles. It can't happen. I mean, after all, they're growing outdoors. So I'm going to take the top of this Napa here and just inspect the top of it. Now, sometimes you're not going to be able to get rid of those black specks. It's nothing serious, guys. But you definitely want to wash your produce. Napa cabbage being one of the perfect examples of anything could be hidden. So I did notice some big black spots that I can just go ahead and shave right off with my knife. Sometimes you do need to do that. Me personally, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we are going to go ahead and move forward with cutting some very thin ribbons into this. And because this pot's going into the wonton mixture, we do need to make certain that this is small. So we'll do ribbons, and then we're going to do a mad chop to it. Make it nice and tiny. With Napa, you definitely don't want to use the whole thing because that bottom part is wicked stiff, wicked firm, bitter as hell. So you definitely don't want to put that into your wonton filling. I'll actually save that for making some kimchi. So quite simply, we're just chopping up that cabbage and we're going to add it right there in the bowl. And we're just making sure everything comes off that board. And with all the dumpling mixes I've done, it's the same rule with wonton mixes. You're going to mix the hell out of this. We're still looking for that myosin development. So we're going to break everything up, and then we're going to, in one direction, we're going to whip this as hard as possible. Don't be afraid to get good and dirty with this, guys. And right away, within the first 5 minutes, you should start seeing the ground pork behaving slightly different. It's going to start smoothing out, almost like a pate. and I'll start seeing little tiny protein threads developing. That's the myosin. And right away I can see that I'm coming to the end of this. It's coming together beautifully. I find pork is a little more flexible than other proteins, but at least I know ahead of time I'm not going to have to kill myself for almost 10 minutes like I do when I do lamb. So I'm liking the consistency I'm seeing here. So we're going to wash our hands, move the bowl to a side, and now we're going to concentrate on the vegetables that we use for the soup. So in the recipe, you're going to see that you're in charge of what vegetables you want. That is your decision, so be good about the washing, rinsing. It's up to you if you want to peel. I personally love to use cabbage, zucchini, carrot, and onion as a common group of vegetables, really, for a soup. But you can use anything you want, guys. If you do opt for zucchini or summer squash, I do recommend doing some julienne cuts. It's kind of like a matchstick. After slicing my zucchini, I'm just going back to grabbing some of them, grouping them up, and doing matchstick cuts. I can add these towards the tail end, and the hot broth in my bowl is going to automatically cook these, so it's perfect. And as you can see, the matchstick cuts on those need to be as universal as possible. And of course, when you're doing your mise en place, always move this to the stove. You want to have everything transferred over. Now, onion. You know what, guys? It's your choice on what kind of onion you want to use. I've even used the red onions before. No big deal. But you do want to keep your cuts as even as possible. So we're doing a simple slicing of this and pushing that off to the side, which will go into that bowl with the cabbage here. That eventually is going to get transferred over to the stove area. Now, I didn't have to record carrots being cut, you've seen it enough, but I do have some bean sprouts from the local Asian market, which I went ahead and rinsed off. And you can't do Asian dishes without any scallion garnish or cilantro. You gotta have some greenage on there, so do a bias cut. Basically, it's a diagonal cut on the scallions. They look amazing as the finished product when you're just about ready to serve everyone's meal. And I'll actually take this, put it into a container, and it's going to be kept there on my counter so I can get everything garnished. Okay, so just like dumpling making, we're going to get a sheet pan or a baking sheet, dust it off with some cornstarch. Now, you'll see these wrappers are yellow. There are dumpling wrappers and there are wonton wrappers. So because we're doing wontons, we do need the Hong Kong style yellow. It's made with egg yolks. And we're going to do the same process, gently wet that wrapper. We're not going more than 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of filling. And we're going to pinch this together, and we want to push out as much air as possible. Now we'll do a little divot in the middle of the butt portion of the wonton, and we're going to lightly wet the edges and bring them together. This is an ingot fold. Think of currency from an Asian country. And of course, you're going to boil those up until they're done, 5 to 10 minutes. Your vegetables should be cooking in your stock in a separate pot, and only cook them to your liking. And as always, we got to take a look at how this came out, right? So after we've done all the work, all the cutting, all the folding, we now have the most beautiful Cantonese style pork cabbage wontons. Take a look at how beautiful that stock is. I did a Thai version, which if you're interested, I do have a Thai base available on my website. And as always, I need to know how you guys like these. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And of course, let me know if you need any help. I am here to help out in any way I can. Thanks so much.